everybody! Hey everybody, it's Mia with TMBH. Today is March 29th, I think. Yes, it is March 29th. And today we are going to talk about forgiveness. And forgiveness is really important because I think a lot of people overlook it in the rehab process or in the recovery process. But I think it's probably one of the most important things because it's really important to humble yourself, right? And I feel like forgiveness, recognizing that there are things to forgive, that there are things that you've done wrong, that kind of knocks you down a peg and humbles you and opens you up and makes you receptible to, I think, therapy and being open and being honest just so that you can get the best treatment that's possible for you. But why is forgiveness important? I would start with basically saying self-forgiveness is probably the most important step because that's the first step. You have to realize, I think a lot of people people use drugs to cope, and then I think eventually, one of the things that makes the use worse and worse and harder and harder to stop is that the longer you're in that particular battle, the more likely it is that you are somehow doing harm to either yourself or other people, and that harm that you've done makes you feel guilty. So it might be taking money from people that you've cared about, or just consistently kind of letting people down by saying that you were going to do something or stop and then you didn't, not being present in somebody's life because of your addiction, whatever it is. The longer you're in that addiction battle, the more likely it is that you've had negative consequences for being addicted, right? And so a lot of that shame and guilt can kind of even compound negative feelings that you've been feeling before and feelings that you need to cope with but aren't necessarily equipped to deal with on your own yet. So what you do is, you cope by compensating with drugs or compensating with alcohol. And so then you get to this point where, you start using drugs and alcohol to even kind of mask the shame for that. And so that makes you even more addicted and more dependent. So if you can get to a place where you forgive yourself and you kind of are being open and honest just with yourself at this point, not even with other people like a therapist, just being honest with yourself and being like, hey, I know I did wrong by this person, and that person, but you know what? I did it, and that's in the past, and I can't change it. I can't change what's happened in the past, but I can make sure that I kind of rectify my wrongdoings by being a more reliant person in the future and being somebody in the future that has more integrity or whatever it is that you feel like you were missing. So once you get opened up to that point and you're able to kind of forgive yourself, I think you also have to learn too not to put all the blame on yourself. There are definitely certain things that might have happened, and most likely, I think for a lot of people who suffer with addiction, there's been trauma in the past, and somebody has probably caused that trauma. So there are people who definitely play a role in your addiction story, your addiction journey, and you have to learn to forgive those people too, not so much for their sake, but for your sake. And I know that that's really cliche advice, you have to forgive for yourself. But that's true because hatred, anger, that's one of those feelings that you kind of hold on to that can be very difficult to cope with, that tends to lead to relapse or even the initiation of drinking and drug use. So if you haven't forgiven somebody, you're probably still dealing with those feelings of anger and hatred. So you kind of just want to let go of that, and that is really going to be best for you. It's going to reduce your chances of relapse, I feel like, just because stress can really increase the chances of relapse. And when you have such rage inside of you over a certain person, a certain situation, whatever, that it's going to be something that causes stress with you. So yeah. That was just kind of the video for today about forgiveness. Otherwise, check out our morning video. It has to deal with this topic as well. And besides that, I will see you guys here again tomorrow on Friday.